Welcome to the JackHorny.com show.
I wasn't going to do it, but because I was just taking a friend to the hospital today, so I'm just laying down. And I had to get up early. I'm going to do one, and it's about David Lammy criticising the BBC presenter for being photographed with a black kid on Instagram or whatever it was, going back a few months, but they keep repeating it, and I think it's been unfairly criticised because I don't think people really got what he was on about, or at least what I think he was on about. But when you watch, right, let me just explain. I'm white, but I was born in Zambia in the 70s, and I came here when I was a kid. And since then, people seem to think Africa's just this poor, starving country. You know, they think everyone lives in mud huts. That's what people seem to. I don't think people say it in a sort of racist way. They're not. They generally, because that's what people see on TV. You don't see, unlike every other country virtually. I mean, if you know the news about China, you can see it, and there's always news about Russia and obviously America, and virtually every other country. The representation, when you see anything about Africa, unless you're watching sort of BBC4, which I suspect most people do, there's very little news about Africa, and it's usually sort of all you see is starving kids or something from Red Nose Day. And I think this is the sort of what David Lammy was sort of trying to get at. I don't think maybe he did it in a bad way, you know, and you know I'm not like a Labour supporter, so, but I always say people who do right, I think it's important to defend. Now, it's the point I think I'm trying to make is that Red Nose Day, you never really get any representation from Africa. By that, I don't mean having somebody from England who's black representing Africa, because they're English. Africa's full of academics, a lot of people who can speak for themselves, and you don't get the impression they're ever on TV being interviewed. And I think this is a problem, such as Red Nose Day. It's sort of, the view seems to be from an English side only. You know, it seems to be it's like I think people in England and probably other countries too, to be fair, they get a bit excited, and in the back of their mind they think they have the theme tune from Mighty Mouse, and they're going, "We're here to save the day, da 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 da. Oh, we're the heroes going in to save the day." And people do this, and I don't think they're thinking what's going on correctly. I mean, all these millions keep the millions go over there, and you just wonder where it's gone to. I mean, obviously they might build the odd well or something, but it doesn't really explain where all the money's gone. And also, I mean, I always think you should be a bit careful over charities automatic. People have this sort of idea that charities are this great thing. Although in recent years, I think people are starting to cotton onto the idea, because you turn on the news and you're finding some charities are paying people to have sex with prostitutes, and is it the NSP? They're getting one or two are becoming political, trying to interfere with politics in the UK. You've got many who pay the staff millions, at least thousands, if not millions. Then you've got staff that, and you've got the involvement in animal testing. Some of them sort of, when you pay money, what you're actually paying for is cruelty towards animals. But they don't ever say that, you know, they're like the health ones. If you ever look up things like the cancer ones and stuff, people think, oh, they're nice sounding, it's nice to save people's lives, but the money goes to, in some ways, to some of the money funds animal testing, and it's not easy to find it on the websites. You have to look hard, and they word it sometimes to suggest that they don't, but they do. And then you've got charities. Well, I mean, you've got ones that there was that kids one where it was just set up to buy kids shoes and not messing about. complete farce by the sounds of it. I mean, whatever charity you give money to, you should always think twice. Question it, because I think people are now cotton on to the fact that they should question about charities. I mean, I always say you're probably better off giving a couple of quid to the local horse sanctuary or donkey sanctuary, because the reality is all the money will probably go to the donkeys and horses or whatever the local charity is, the small ones, rather than on some guy's or woman's fast wage. I mean, they seem to pay everybody a lot of money. And then some of them even spend half the money, by the sounds of it, on advertising. It goes all over the place. I think people think for every pound they give goes straight to a good cause. Well, it seems to be. By the time you've given it, there's probably about a penny goes to the actual cause. You're paying for someone's lifestyle. You need to really look these things up. I mean, I think this is the trouble, that over the years, charities have basically got away with a lot of them. They've got away with things because people presume that they're always in the correct. Well, one of the things I listened to, and it was quite interesting, because you listen to these things on Radio 4, there was a situation where, I don't know if it was Africa, one of the African countries, but there was an eye problem, and there was several charities went over. Great, you think. And the trouble was, what happened was, they gave people eye drops. But instead of communicating that with other charities, they were all independent. So 5 charities, or how many it was, came along, and they went up to people and gave 5 lots of doses, because they kept just doing it themselves. And this is the problem. People actually started becoming ill because they were getting too much medicine, because they were getting too many drops and too many tablets. And apparently this is one of the big problems with some of the charities. They're so up themselves, they don't want to talk to any of the others. So anyway, like I say, I think the issue, I mean, people are saying, oh, well, why don't you have a black presenter or comedian? I think there's a couple, oh God, what's his, Lenny Henry. I think they were saying, oh, why don't you send Lenny Henry? And I don't think this is why I think people don't get it. Lenny Henry is English. Just because he's black is no different to sending any of the others. Doesn't matter if they're white or black or whatever. And I think this is the point. I mean, to be honest, a lot of the times when I see these people, celebs on TV, doing these things like Red Nose Day or anything, I suspect it's just free publicity for them. But they usually end up with another contract. It's like, oh, yeah, we'll extend your contract because people like you now, or it's to sell records. I mean, I think one of the things they said about the one of I think that massive world pop concert thing, all the pop stars apparently made a fortune selling CDs or records or whatever it was. They all did well out of it. I think only one didn't, apparently. But it was like, I mean, best advertising going. So we never see these going, oh, give you money, I mean, the question is, how much money have they given? It's all right saying I've given up half an hour of my time for a bit of free publicity. But I always wonder, have they actually put their hand in the pocket? It's always... It's a bit, I sometimes think it's a bit sick, really, but I mean, I don't bother with the Red Nose Day thing. I've never watched it. It's the most boring thing going. And all these things are just several hours of garbage to me. And yeah, that's probably a nasty thing to say, because you say, no, it's for charity. Well, I mean, how much of the money actually does go to the people? And it's, I mean, you'd think by now they'd have cured everything. I mean, they don't seem to, for all the money they raise, all these millions, they only seem to ever do, when they say what they've done, it's just they built a well or two. They don't seem to do a lot with the cash. It makes you think if it all disappears somewhere. Oh yeah, like I was saying, the problem is you never really hear anyone from Africa, and I think this is the problem. I think David Lammy was saying. He was basically, I think, saying you only see the bad side of Africa, of the African countries, should I say, or states. I think some call them states. Rather than you see the positive, the businesses, the education. I mean, like I say, Zambia, I'm not sure that's got any starvation. Like, I mean, I think, I don't think it's like when you see the red nose thing. I don't know if they've ever done anything in Zambia. And this is the trouble. It's this sort of representation that everybody's starving and waiting for the nice white English to come along and save the day, blah blah blah. I mean, I did hear this African academic, and he was just fuming over these things. He says you're just degrading the countries. We don't need it. We should be doing it ourselves. I mean, there was one. I can't remember if it was him actually, and I quite enjoyed this little quote. It was well, not a quote, but the I heard what somebody said, and it made me giggle when I heard it. But he said something in the lines of, people would rather think that aliens built the pyramids in Africa because they don't want to think Africans could be capable of doing such a thing. I mean, when I've said it, it's not very funny. He made it sound funny, the way he did it. Anyway, I'm not only doing it short tonight, but I just thought I'd do this because I think people have been unfairly criticising David Lammy because it's I mean, it's a sort of it's the viewpoint, I think. And I always say, when it comes to a viewpoint, it's like looking at a tree. You can have 1,000 people looking at the same tree, and because they'll be stood in a different position, they might be far away, close, or different sides of the tree or wherever. You can describe the tree differently, but it's actually, no one's incorrect because it's just their view of it. That's my point of viewpoints. And I think the trouble is, a lot of people have criticised David Lammy because they're seeing it from, yeah, what's the harm? That's what I think, that was the argument, is what's the harm in just because she's white going over if it raises money. But I don't think they were fully getting what he was saying was, it impacts the view people have of Africa and the African countries, and it's not in that regards. I don't know. Well, I'm so tired. Yeah, I just think I think it wasn't put. I was surprised actually the grief he got, because I think he was sort of on the right lines, and I don't think. You see, I think the trouble was because it was a Labour MP, people thinking, oh, he's just doing it to be politically correct. Actually, maybe at first I thought that. Because that's the sort of thing. I mean, a lot of times people in Labour seem to just say anything just to be politically correct. They don't, I mean, they'll defend anything just to sound politically correct. They're not really interested in facts or what he'll do. I mean, I think if a Conservative MP had said this, they might have thought, oh, he's saying it from slightly much middle or right, and they might have taken more note. I think, unfortunately, David Lammy's been seen as saying it as a bit of a left-wing thing. I mean, being politically correct, and quite honestly, I don't think he was on this. I mean, I hate political correctness, but and that's why I don't see this as being politically correct. I think he has made some good points, and unfortunately, I think people got sensitive. And I think that's the trouble. People are sensitive to what he has said, and felt, oh, because basically, if you're giving money to Red Nose Day, it's almost like saying you're in the wrong. Well, maybe it's not. I don't know. But anyway, perhaps this might surprise people. I'm sticking up for a Labour MP, but honestly, I don't think I don't think he deserves all the grief that he's getting. And I think people haven't sat down and really discussed it, really understood what he was on about. Because you don't see any representation from any Africans. You know, I mean, you don't really get on the TV. I mean, how often do you see somebody come over, an academic from? You don't see anyone invited over from any of the African countries, any of the academics or politicians or newsreaders or whatnot. I mean, you do a bit on the Radio 4, to be fair, but it's only people like me who listen to that. Still, I mean, the African countries, even in the 70s, they were actually doing okay. Anywho, but I mean, one thing I'd say about, from my point of view, I am consciously aware that I always think of Zambia as the better one of all the African countries. So it's I'm slightly biased there, by the way. So if I ever talk about African countries, you might find, I mean, it wouldn't be unfair to state that about me. I mean, just that. It always comes across, every time I look in the news, far more fantastic than any of the others. I'm always thinking, wow. I mean, a bit like a few years ago, I was reading about them opening a supermarket, and what they were doing was all the fruit especially, that was slightly going off, going out of date. They were donating it to the animals, in the parks and things, like the lions and stuff. And I thought, well, in England, you just chuck it all away, and it goes in the skip. So that's my sort of, we're better. Well, Zambia's better, more civilised. Well, I'm really knackered, folks. I've got to go to bed and get up early again. Not looking forward to it. Hate getting up in the morning. Absolutely, and I think it's going to rain tomorrow. It's supposed to rain today, but it looks like it was dry. Don't know if it was wet for you folks, but oh dear. I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else in the news, is there? I don't know. I'll just, before I go turn this thing off, the phone's probably going to go beep beep beep. Let's just see. Dun 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 dun. Oh, the thing about Johnson, isn't there? I mean, that sort of he's at the moment. You know what really cheeses me off, and I think it's putting everyone off politics. Is that you've got people on the left and people on the right, and they're just basically just rubbish each other, and the twist all the truth. So you've got this thing about Johnson, where he's had an argument with his girlfriend, and the left are now trying to make it into a big hoo-ha, trying to make it out as beating them up, and if you say anything, if you defend him, then you're apparently supporting wife beating him. It's pathetic. But I mean, I suspect you'll get that in reverse. I bet the Conservatives do the same to Labour people. It's just pointless, this constant, let's try and rubbish other people on the other side. It's not going to win people votes. I'm sure it just peeves people off. I mean, by the sounds of it, I mean, I might be wrong. We just had an argument. Well, you know what I mean? If you listen to me and my mate, we have an argument every 10 minutes. Where she shouts at me, we get. I mean, there's no violence. I mean, that's how we get on. We love a good argument. I mean, she knows I'm always correct. I think that's why she gets annoyed. But still, let's just see. Toy Story 4 breaks global records. That looks a good film, actually. And they're on about women's football. Hate football. God, it's boring. Utterly the most boring thing going. And I love the fact everyone's trying to pretend that they're into women's football. People who probably don't even watch football, regardless of pretending. Oh look, just seeing them. Oh crikey! I've just got the website up and it's showing how everywhere's flooded again. Oh, by the way, before I turn off, I'm going to say something, and you hear this a lot. In America, you have people, what do they call them, preppers, and I think they're getting it here. You've got people starting to be preppers here, and the people seem to mock them, make out there's some sort of right-wing nut jobs. Well, to me, everyone should be a prepper, because not because of any nuclear war or anything. I might do a little thing on this talk because it does bug me, because the amount of people who aren't prepared for disasters and they end up in a lot of problems, and that's all prepping to me is about. I remember a few years ago there was a street that flooded and everyone lost everything. Basically, the river came in and flooded it, so they had to leave the houses except for one old boy, and because he had what do you call them? He'd already bought for a few quid some what do you call? Oh God, sandbags. So his house never flooded. Now the trouble is, this is why I think people should be preppers more, because there's nothing right-wing about it. It's just making sure you're okay in case of emergency. If you're in a flood zone, you should have things like this, rather than sitting around and hoping the council come bail you out, because it could take hours or days before the council come. I mean, it's a bit like I always say, you should have a bag, even if it's just a plastic, one of these 10p bags for life things, and have your medication in and any other bits, the toilet roll, bit of toothpaste, just something you can grab and leave if something happens. So like when you've got these floodings happening, and they do happen all over, I mean anything could happen, you're not messing about. I mean, because you're not just putting your life at risk, you're putting other people's lives at risk who's coming to rescue you. I mean, you see people going in to rescue these people, and they're spending hours walking around the house looking for the tablets and stuff, instead of just gone. They could grab it and they're gone and move on. But no, the rescuers have to spend ages with you before they even move on to the next person. Anyway, that's my little rant for today. I might cover a few more subjects instead of single ones. I mean, I know basically that these things don't get many views. I'm not really bothered. It's just me just getting stuff from my chest. So if any, someone wrote down, because I apparently spelt break wrong, as because I'm dyslexic. I don't care. I honestly don't care if you find faults with my spelling. It doesn't bother me. God, I'm so tired. I don't want to get up tomorrow. I was hoping to sleep in, but she's ended up having another appointment I've got to go to. I hate picking her up and having to dash to the hospitals, and at least you get in quick. But it's just the thought of I mean, the nurse were fuming with me. Well, she wasn't fuming, but I said, can we do an afternoon appointment? And she went, well, it's better for her to be in the morning. And I thought, well, it's not better for me. I'm the one having to drive around. There's no consideration for me, that. I mean, she just goes in and it's bish bash bosh and done. I'm the one having to drive her about. You'd think the nurses would say, oh, thank you, you're a hero. You know what I mean? They ignored me today. I didn't really appreciate the effort I've put in. I mean, you think they'd just say, oh, well done, a little badge for you for bringing her down. But no consideration. No, you're a hero. I mean, you could just say it. I mean, I don't need to have the badge saying hero, but it'd be nice. Anyway, that's me done. Oh, God, I'm just going to turn it off now. There we go. Oh, can't even see the button. Too knackered to even see the button.